Hey guys, how's it going? 6 a.m. here, up kind of late, taking naps and stuff, but I don't have a schedule, and I work overnights as it is, so up all kinds of crazy hours, but I feel like I want to upload more stuff, and I've just been I haven't been on the ball for a long time, really. And, well, at least since I read the book, I think, on, covenant theology, I felt like I was really getting a lot then. But since then, I kind of haven't done so much. And, it's not because I haven't wanted to. I just haven't had the motivation, and it could be attributed to a lot of things. I could come up with a lot of excuses, but, part of it, working a little extra, just working and being tired, different things going on with the apartment and stuff like that, different things going on with finances, even though I've been very blessed, and a lot of help and stuff like that. But, weather at certain times, it's like the last couple of weeks or whatever, I've had the issue with the ceiling in the bathroom and not even really being able to take a shower like I'd want to because the moisture and stuff would mess up the ceiling even more or whatever. And then it's like hot and humid outside, and even though I have like the air on inside, it's like still like muggy, and it's like just don't want to do anything. And I've said like how I want to get back into exercising a lot, and I haven't been motivated to do that either. And so that's a big thing. I said I've gained more weight and gotten out of shape, and so maybe not in the best health either. And having heartburn and taking medicine for that all the time. And and I'm not trying to complain like that my life is in shambles or anything, because it's great, but it's just, my motivation hasn't been up to par. And, one thing with the exercising too that kind of stinks is that I live in, when I was living with my mom in the town that I grew up in, that's only like 600 people in that town. It's so nice that, there's like no traffic and not a lot of people outside, and you can kind of do whatever you want in that town. Like, I would go on walks at night, and I even, tried to start recording like the night walk talking things, and I enjoyed that so much, being able to walk around town at night and get some exercise. And I don't really feel that comfortable doing it here in the town that I live in now that has like 3,000 people. And maybe I should, because it's not like this town is crazy, but there is more traffic, there are more people, and it doesn't feel the same to me. But eventually, I'm going to get things figured out here. And the good thing that I always talk about, how I love to help UPS every year, is, UPS makes me be physical and get me off my butt, and it gives me some companionship too. And that's another thing, I could deal with loneliness and depression, and everybody deals with that, and I've talked about it before. But I did want to say that one thing I have been focusing on lately is I was talking about how I was writing letters to prisoners, and I'm basically writing to one girl now, basically. And we've got a pretty good friendship going on, and been writing her a lot, and it's been going very well. And so that's one thing that I've spent my time on now lately in the past month or so. Spent a lot of time on that, to where, I'll write. I send a letter like every day, an envelope, and usually I'll do like 4 pages, sometimes 5, sometimes 3 maybe or something. And I'll do, sometimes, I'll send 2 at a time, so it'll be like 8 pages or whatever, and I'll write, talk about whatever, and draw pictures, write song lyrics. I try to make it interesting and and exciting, whatever. And this girl that I'm talking to went in there, I think, in March or something, which she got like 11 months, not 11 years, 11 months, so she should be out in May or even sooner, but, so it's something that I plan to do until she's released. So this is an interesting thing. It's something I've never done before, and this is a commitment that I've decided that I'm going to make. And so, I'm focused on talking to her, and it does help me to have something to look forward to like that. And there's other people I've talked to online, and it's like, yeah, I can be lonely at times, but I don't want to say that, it's kind of, maybe I'm lonely and I don't know it, or I don't accept it, or I don't realize it, but I do enjoy alone time, and I enjoy peace and quiet, and, time with God, and being able to focus on my own things, uninterrupted. And I do spend time with my mom, and I spend time with my cousin, and the time with my cousin hasn't always been so frequent recently, but, there's only certain times where we can really get together, and sometimes, we've got other plans, and so it goes off for a while, but, and I've visited my dad recently because his birthday happened, and we had a great time talking, and, I try to see my mom once a week at least, and so I do, and I have work where I talk to customers, and I talk to employees, so, it's not like I'm alone all the time, but sometimes on my days off, which I can have a few days off in a row or whatever, sometimes there's no real physical human interaction, but, I talk to people online. There's been a girl who's been kind enough to, watch movies with me on Facebook, and I enjoy that, and there's another girl who plays Xbox games online, and so I know usually a lot of times, she's up to playing, and so I have these activities to where I can socialize and do different things, but and it's like, I don't know. Anyway, I feel so bad that I haven't uploaded and done a lot of stuff, but I did recently get an email from somebody from the website. They went on my website and contacted me and said that they really liked the study that I did on the trichotomy versus dichotomy, and that they learned some things from it, and they wanted to have the notes. And I actually have the notes on the website, but it's not, it wasn't all organized and stuff. There's still a lot of work that I've got to do on there, which I've been procrastinating doing that too. And I'm always like, tonight I've got to work on study somewhat. I've got to do something. And then I don't. And I'm like, well, I can just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and it's like, okay, I don't. And it's like, so what do? Well, I don't really do much of anything. I watch YouTube videos, and, I eat and clean or whatever else. Write that girl in prison, talk to some people online, and, that's how my days go. And what do I watch on YouTube? It depends. I keep up with the news and different things, but I've been watching somebody that I subscribe to called After Prison Show, because I've been so interested in everything about prison, which has always kind of interested me because I've had my own struggles with addiction, and I've been in jail and all that, so. But this After Prison Show on YouTube is really great. This guy has like 1.5 million subscribers, and it might definitely be something that you'd want to check out. He seems really good. He spent like 7 years in prison, and he got out, and he started this YouTube channel, and he's been out for quite some time now. And he talks about every aspect in prison, the food, and just everything about it. And he also helps out other people who have been in prison, and they tell their stories, and I really like that channel a lot, and I've been watching that like nonstop, trying to almost consuming like all of his material. He's got tons and tons of videos. He's been doing it for years now. But that's good stuff. And, I still like to watch preaching videos and whatever, but, there hasn't been a lot that's interested me that's popped up lately that I've subscribed to. And even stuff like Brian Denlinger, like, he didn't even post anything for like 2 weeks, and then he recently did. And then, the stuff that he does post is like not interesting, so. And that's the thing, just with a lot of them, like, Steven Anderson's always making videos, and sometimes it just doesn't seem interesting, whatever the subject is. But, so I watch a variety of things, but, it's unfortunate. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing, probably just sitting at the screen, and need to get out and do more stuff. But I am going to a wrestling show in Chicago on August 31st. I'm very excited about that. It's All Elite Wrestling. The show is called All Out, and I've always been a fan of professional wrestling. And when I first got saved, I got away from all that. I didn't watch movies or play games or watch wrestling or anything, but I've since gotten back into some of that, and I love it. I'm very, very excited for this show. I think it's going to be the best show I've ever been to, and I've been to WWE SummerSlam in Indiana one time. That was, probably the biggest show that I went to before this, but I've been to just a ton of shows, a ton of different companies, but this one I'm anticipating so much, and me and my cousin are going there, and we're going to be driving to Chicago. It's going to be about a 4-hour drive there and back. And so I could use some prayers for that, because it does worry me about this trip. And probably going to be taking my vehicle. So it's a little bit worrisome, Can't afford to have, get into a wreck or anything like that. And but everything will probably go smooth. We've went to Chicago before for shows. And it's always kind of, makes me anxious, but I'm going to pray about it. I think it's going to go great, and it's going to be great. It's on a Saturday night, and it's the first time that I've requested off a Saturday. It's the first time I've requested off a day, period, really. And I haven't had a Saturday off for like 2 years, because I work the weekends all the time, so that's interesting. But usually nothing's worth it, really, to me. And my cousin and people have wanted me to take off just to watch wrestling shows on TV or whatever together. And, there's other little things that have intrigued me to, to go to. But I know that also if I had the weekends off all the time, I'd probably be going to too much stuff, and I'd probably be spending, too much money on all that. Just going to events or something. I don't need to be doing that. But this is a historic event of a new company that's upstarting, and they're going to be on TNT in October, and they're going to be crowning their first champion. And so this is like a mega show, and it's sold out in like 5 minutes. And so yeah, I'm just very, very thrilled for that. And yeah, it's just a show, and when it's over, it'll be over, and then that'll be that. It'll be memories. But I'm really going to enjoy it the night of, and so it's nice to let yourself enjoy, whatever you're into like that. But, I want to get motivated to do more studies and stuff, and I'm thinking that, maybe I'll upload some videos like this, on Spreaker or whatever. I'll do some recording, some audio. If anybody cares to listen, that, maybe I'll talk more about my testimonies or just my life, or my thoughts on addiction and stuff like that, because I've been opening up a lot to this girl in prison, and I know that she is in there for meth. She got caught with meth, and when I first wrote her, she expressed that, she's just thankful to God and stuff, and she wants to recover, and, a lot of people could say that and not mean it, but there's some people that won't even say that either. But, I pray for her, and I hope that she does change things around. So I share my experience with her and stuff, and, I was never into meth that bad, but, marijuana was my drug of choice, and I dabbled in a little bit of everything, but marijuana and my lifestyle is pretty crazy, and a lot of people think that, just weed is just, no big deal or whatever, but no, it definitely has some major issues when you're addicted to marijuana. And I made that video with the drink that said tasted like beer, and I did that because, well, there was the African shop that I went to, and I wanted to try some different stuff. I knew it was like a popular drink. I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I know that there's that JCI swing guy, what's his name, Jason. He always records himself eating different foods and stuff like that. And I just thought it would be cool just to share that and something different. And even though, because it said that it tastes like beer or whatever, it's not like it would, made me want to relapse or anything. I've been sober for at least 6 years now. I don't really like to keep track, but I'm 32, and I know I was using when I was 25. It was sometime after that I got my second DUI. Maybe when I was 26, I'm not sure. So it could be around 6 years, maybe going on 7. It's going to get to the point to where I have been sober for longer than I ever used. And I'm not really sure how long that would be. I have to think about it, because I've quit other times before for years at a time or whatever and relapsed, but never this long. I've never, been sober this long. And there's a lot of things in my life now that, I never did. Having my own place and all that, and so there's so many positive things going on. I don't want anything to do with drugs at all, but having that drink that tastes like a beer or whatever, that wasn't really like a problem or anything. I thought it was interesting, but and then there's the whole thing that I think, like I've said, that the Bible teaches. The Bible doesn't condemn alcohol as a whole. It condemns drunkenness, but, it talks about drinking wine and stuff. Not such a bad thing. In certain circumstances, and in moderation for people who can handle it, not for addicts. So I can't say, well, the Bible says it's okay to drink alcohol in moderation, so I'm going to do it, but I've been like a former addict. I've had 2 DUIs. Alcohol has affected my life majorly, so I have to have nothing to do with that. But not everybody's like that, so, I was raised with that, in my life. So overall, I'm happy about a lot of things, but I do get depressed and upset, and I'm upset that I haven't uploaded studies and stuff. And, the only thing that I can do is start doing it, but it's just easier said than done, and it's just, I'm focused on other things. There's always something in the future that I'm looking forward to that I'm focusing on, that maybe I'm not focusing so much on the day-to-day like I should, because I'm doing stuff like I'm looking forward to the wrestling show, that's like, I know that's coming, I'm excited for it, and, I'm not really focusing on a lot else besides getting to that point and getting over that. And some of the next things that could actually be pretty interesting is, and one of the reasons that I mentioned writing this girl in prison also, is that I could be visiting her. I've never visited anybody in prison, and I could share my experience with you on that. That'd be very interesting. Very nerve-wracking, but I think it'd be cool, and I hope I get that chance. And so I could be talking about that. Also, if this girl gets out, if we continue to talk when she's released, whether we do or not, not really a big deal to me, but if we do, I've told her, that I think church would be good for her. It was really good for me early on, and there's lots of people that like to go to church, and that's fine. I personally don't now in my life majorly, but for lots of different reasons. But I do know that it is beneficial in a lot of ways too. In some ways it can be harmful, but I think, especially people who are addicts, they need kind of a support system of, people around them who are not into the drugs and stuff. Because you need to, not associate with your past life, your past friends, and, at least not be around them while they're using and stuff. But, so it's important that you find other people, to help who aren't like that. And, I've told her about my faith and everything else, and she's curious, why don't I go to church? But I've said, it would be good for her, so when she gets released, if we still talk and hang out and stuff, I told her, I would go to church with her. So that could be something interesting, too, in the future, but that would not be until, like, May. And going to church by myself, not really something I want to do. But, with somebody else that might want to go like that, then, I might be interested in that, and that could help me with my studies, too, in some ways. So, but, my mom and my cousin, they go to church every Sunday, but it's also in another town, like a couple towns over. So for one thing, if I was going to do that, like every Sunday, it's always going to be like more gas, and it's just not something that I really want to do, honestly. To go there with them to that one or whatever. But if it's like something that's like local in the town that I'm in now with somebody different, then, it might be interesting. So, feels kind of weird that I'm just opening up to all this. I'm just talking to my phone. And but man, I want to continue on the armor of God and going over each specific, verse as pertaining to that in the greater detail. And I just haven't. And it's like every day I want to do this. And I'm like, I need to do this before this month is out at least. And it's getting closer and closer, and I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I want to, but I just have to get motivated to do it. But, I was wondering if it would be interesting if I did just do kind of like a diary thing for a while and just open up and then share things. About addiction and stuff. And, I just opened up to her about some different things about alcohol, how it's affected my life and stuff, and talked about how one thing, like how alcohol lowers your inhibitions. And, I feel like I should make like a separate video for this, but since this is kind of long here, I'll just throw it all together. I guess I'll just keep talking. But, with alcohol, when you're drunk, it's easy to be manipulated. Being drunk's kind of like in a dreamlike state where you care less and less about the consequences of what you're doing, and you don't think straight. And, I just talked about how it's easy to manipulate people. For instance, the reason why I'm saying this is because, like I said, she was addicted to meth and stuff, and, well, what if she gets out of prison and she doesn't do meth, but she wants to drink every now and then? Okay, that's not a good idea, right? Because an addict's an addict, and there's a thing called cross-addiction, and you'll just replace one substance with another, but you'll still be out of control because you still have that addictive behavior. You still have that, careless lifestyle. There's still a lot of problems that need to be fixed, and you're just trying to cover up your problems with a different drug, and the results aren't going to be good. And alcohol is really one of the worst drugs. I mean, the hard drugs like heroin and meth and cocaine, and they definitely have their severe negative effects. They could be easy to overdose on, and yeah, they're highly addictive, and so there's lots of issues with that. But alcohol causes so many problems, and it's such an accepted drug that it's legal and it's sold everywhere, and it's promoted on TV, and it's crazy. But for somebody who is into harder drugs, not only is alcohol a problem in itself, but it's like, let's say that you're drunk and you're around somebody who has some meth or something. It's going to be a lot more easy for you to just get right back into that, And also because eventually a person who likes meth or whatever other drug it is, for me it was marijuana. Alcohol, makes you feel good, you think, because, the chemicals and stuff. You're drunk, whatever. You enjoy it. If you enjoy being high, being messed up, feeling numb, not thinking or feeling anything. But it doesn't replace the feeling of the other, Like, when I was drunk, I still wanted to get high, at a certain point, it's like, okay, this isn't enough. This isn't what I want. And so it would be very easy for somebody who was into a harder drug to get drunk and then easily get back into it. And there was times where, me and one of my friends that partied with me, there was a time when I got into crack cocaine for a little while, around the age of 16, and there was an older guy that we always hung out with that we partied with, and we drank and we smoked weed with. And in his youth, he was into crack and stuff, but he wasn't like that really when we were around him. We hung out at his house and listened to music, and we just drank and smoked pot. But when we started doing crack, we were kids and we didn't really have money or anything, okay? This older guy did. He worked, and so we, told him that we were able to get crack and stuff, and we basically, were able to coerce him, when he was drunk and stuff, to buy more crack, because people are easily manipulated when they're under the influence of alcohol. And the guy that we did crack with, who was able to get it and stuff like that, he had a brother, and they were crazy brothers. And his, I remember him getting his brother drunk, to coerce him into buying crack. And that's just, a simple example of how, people can be manipulated when they're drunk, and how your inhibitions are lowered, and how easily acceptable you are to getting sucked right back into the other drugs, the other problems that you had before. And so it's not an answer to get off of one drug and to go to another. And for any addict to say that they're only going to drink every now and then is completely absurd, because it might start out that way. That's not how it's going to end. It's ridiculous. I hate alcohol, guys. I hate marijuana. I hate the fact that it's going to be legal in Illinois in January. But yeah, so I thank God for my sobriety. I really do. Sobriety is so important. It's so important. And I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this, and I respect different opinions. But I'm just speaking from somebody who is an addict myself, and I've seen the damage in my friends and my family and in myself. I know what these drugs can do. They're definitely, and because the whole, the alcohol thing in moderation, to where I said I think that, God approves of that, but it's like, okay, what about, marijuana in moderation? What about, prescriptions and stuff for painkillers, There's a lot of, gray areas, I guess, for stuff to where it's debatable, but the point is that, addiction is a problem, and when we're talking about addiction, the best thing is just abstinence from everything, Unless you were in some kind of serious pain or something, I think you should take painkillers. There's people that are like straight edge that won't even take painkillers when they're in pain. I don't think that's good, but, that's somebody's choice. But I kind of wonder if I should share more stories and more thoughts like this with you guys. And I want to keep things more God-oriented and Bible-oriented, but, I've already done a lot of different stuff on this channel. But, I just want it to be positive as well. And, I'm very much about the anti-drug message. And, I'm so lucky that I didn't go to prison for things. There's so many times when I had illegal drugs, hard drugs, like I said, when I did the crack, I could have got caught, been busted. When I was doing it with the friends, we could have all got busted and all, went to prison or whatever. Of course, I was a juvenile at the time, but even later on in life, the things that I did. But I did go to jail for different things. I did go to rehab. I did have a couple of DUIs, and I wrecked both times, and I was very grateful that I didn't, even get injured, let alone, I didn't die, I didn't hurt anybody else, but I was so close. I totaled my car with my second DUI. I hit a telephone guide wire, I hit a fence post, and the car was totaled. It wouldn't move, and I just got out of the vehicle, trashed, and I was so disoriented I didn't even really know where I was, even though I was on a road that I traveled every night, and I was very close to my destination, and started walking through fields. I didn't even know, and I was trying to use my phone to call people. My phone was almost dead, but I sent a couple of messages out. Sent a message to a friend that I just dropped off, and I was like, I'm so pissed right now. I tried to take it out on him or something. Wow. Crazy. And it's crazy when you go back and you think about that stuff. When you're an addict like that, and you get sober, and it's like, that was me. I did these things. It's hard to even believe, like, the person who you was before. And, it was because of drugs. But, and then there's the thing of successful, quote-unquote successful people or high-functioning addicts. Just like because I'm a wrestling fan, I could just use Rob Van Dam for an example, because he's a wrestler who's all about smoking pot. His whole life has been all about the pot. And it's kind of like, what's the negative of it from his life? Because, he accomplished his dreams. He's very athletic. He does a great job as a wrestler. He's in great shape. How can you say that it's affected his life? But it has. It's got to be affecting him physically, his insides. I'm sure it's affecting him mentally and emotionally and spiritually too. I don't know all the details about his life, but people look at celebrities and stuff like that and they're like, well, see, they're doing great just because they've got money or whatever else. They think that that somehow justifies being an addict. It justifies the usage of these drugs. But then look at so many celebrities that have committed suicide and stuff as well. They're always trying to fill a void in their life with substances that can never be filled. But anyway. So I talk about all this stuff because been getting pretty deep into it with her, trying to share all these thoughts, but we talk about a lot of things, talk about God and talk about just everything, and I try not to be so serious all the time and to harp on her all the time or anything like that, but I think that it has to be mentioned sometimes, and I try to just see kind of where her mind is at. And you just gotta think that prison's gotta mess people up. She's already told me about some stories about some difficulties that she's had with other inmates. And, some inmate just walked up and took her cup off of a table. She told her to put it back or whatever, and the inmates threw it at her cup, or her feet, I mean. And recently she got moved to another unit because she said that there was another inmate that just wanted to start a fight with her because she wanted to move or something, and the other inmate was following her around, yelling at her, calling her a crack baby, and so that inmate got moved away, and then she said that everybody was mad at her because saying it was her fault, and so she got moved to a different unit, and it just sounds like a mess, totally high school drama, but more dangerous and crazy and more depressing, and I couldn't even imagine it. Luckily, a year is not as long as, longer sentences. But from the people that I've talked to before that have been in prison and they get back out and they go back in, and it's so sad. It's like prison messes them up worse. Man, I hate it. But, and then the fact of, people getting felonies and, not being able to find a place to live or a place to work. There are places, but it makes it more difficult, it does. And, I can see the point to where some places, or, some people are like, well, they did the crime, so, you gotta face the consequences, and I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, sometimes you could get in trouble and, the snap of a finger, and, just make a mistake, and, now you're marked for life. But, felons get by anyway, but it's a little bit sad to me that it's like they're less than human. Especially if it's non-violent charges and stuff like that, I don't know. Again, kind of a debatable thing, but maybe it's just because I've been that way, and I don't have any felons. I have misdemeanors, but when I was a juvenile, I did get in trouble for burglaries, and they were felonies, and so they're not on my adult record, but they do affect me when trying to get a FOID card in Illinois, which is a card that you have to have for gun ownership. So I was actually going to apply to get a gun, and just to be able to, just because it was just my right and I just wanted to. I found out I couldn't. I'll have to get my record expunged, which is very possible, and I probably will do that. But I'm not in a hurry to do that. It's not really a big deal to me. But unfortunately, because of the decisions when I was a juvenile, and that was the time when I was doing the crack and stuff, that has affected me. So even after I've been sober for a long time, and I've worked and tried to do everything positive in my life, that still haunts me from back when I was 16. It's crazy. So anyway, the point is that maybe I'll record some videos or some audio recordings or something like this. Anyways, if I don't get around to anything else, maybe I'll just share some thoughts on some different things. Maybe talk about my childhood some more. I've shared some of that stuff with her. Maybe talk about, I'm just thinking about talking about like addiction, I guess, just drugs. Kind of some of my drug stories, the negatives. But, yeah. Anyway, God bless, guys. If anybody listens to this, hope you don't feel like you wasted your time. But if there's anything you want to know in particular, let me know. Or give me some suggestions of something to study in the Bible or something. Give me some direction. Ask a question or something for me to go off of. It would be helpful. And as always, I could use your prayers. So, thanks, guys. God bless.